In the land of Vikings, dragons are the enemy. Unless you're this guy. Meet Hiccup. Skinny, smart, absolutely not dragon-slaying material. But when he takes down the most dangerous dragon alive, he does the unthinkable. He makes a friend. Now Hiccup and Toothless, a night fury with a gummy smile, are about to change everything their village believes. Fly high, dive fast, and hold on, because this remake's got heart, humor, and dragons. From the director Danny DeBoy, returning to the story he made legendary, starring Mason Thames, Nico Parker, and Gerard Butler. Yep, he's back. How to Train Your Dragon. Same wings, new flight.
All right. Well, welcome to Burnt or Buttered. I'm Stetson.
And I'm Toast.
And we are talking about How to Train Your Dragon. Live action.
Who could have seen this coming? Anybody who's followed Disney for the last 10 years.
Yeah, this is Disney. Is it Pixar
It's
too?
Pixar. DreamWorks, I think.
DreamWorks?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's kind of a lot to talk about, but kind of not a lot to talk about with this film.
I mean, the biggest thing to talk about, I think, is that Gerard Butler is back after Den of Thieves Pantera.
Yeah. Who would have thought this was going to be his next film?
This is his breakout role after his career's died a second time.
And Gerard Butler does pretty good in this. I don't know how to feel all the way about this movie. And I was at odds with it, kind of watching it as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I was missing the animated part of the film. And I feel like the live action took away from kind of the wonder of the film.
Yeah, I kind of went into it thinking that's how it was going to hit me. But I feel like they expanded the world building a little bit. It's mostly the exact same story, but they've added a few things, I think, like more about Gerard Butler's character, like actually hunting the dragons and building that world a little bit more. As far, like, I feel like it's a much scarier thing in real, live action versus animation. Like the danger levels felt bigger than it did watching the original.
Yeah, I do think that there was parts of it that were well, and what I went back and forth with was if I saw this movie first, would I think that it was better or good
or a classic
than if I, saw the animated version first? Like if I had a clean slate, hadn't seen either film, and I went in and saw this one for the first time and had never seen the animated version, I don't know if I would have liked it as much. Like I feel like one of the reasons why I liked it was because I had seen the animated version of it. Yeah, and so that's what I'm kind of at odds with, was as I'm watching it, I'm only really invested into this character because I know the character.
Yeah. And that's exactly how I felt watching the live action Aladdin, because Aladdin was my favorite Disney movie growing up. And then seeing it live action, I just wasn't sure how to feel because I loved it so much. And then this one was so different, in every way, it seemed like. Yeah.
I think maybe the one thing that I was at odds with were the dragons, because in the animated version, the animated dragons make sense in the way that they can be wonky and they can be funky and they can have like a little goofy like characters.
Yeah.
But when it came to live action, I'm expecting dragons like Lord of the Rings dragons that are terrifying, that don't feel animated. And I think that's the only part of this movie that I was at odds with were the dragons themselves, because the dragons still felt like they were part of an animated film.
Right. It's like the first time that you ever watch Who Killed Roger Rabbit. You're like, what? These are cartoons next to humans. Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The dragons do feel cartoonish.
They do. Because I think that they were trying to keep that same goofiness, but like at the same time trying to add a level of realism that they just never really got to.
Yeah. And I feel like his friends, Hiccup's friends, or soon to be friends, the trainees, like they were fun in the animated film, and there was a missing part to the live action where I feel like they should have changed the humor a tiny bit to make it less goofy.
Yeah.
And they still could have been funny. They still could have been, eccentric or just stupid, people or whatever they want them to be portrayed as, but not have them be the animated version of that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that, like 100%. I even like the actor from the Hunt for the Wilder People. Yeah, that kid. I love that kid. So seeing him in this, immediately I was excited. But I don't feel like any of their stuff landed.
No, it really didn't. I knew that it was supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't that. There was maybe 2 or 3 parts where I was like, okay, that actually worked and that landed.
Yeah.
But most of it, I was just kind of missing something. It felt too forced.
Yeah.
And the characters felt forced in the way that they didn't feel legitimate. But in the animated version of it they
flows.
feel so they
real.
Feel like they should be in that village, and there would be those characters in there, where I feel like they could have beefed it up a little bit to make these kids more Viking. I feel like they weren't Viking enough in the live action side of it, where the main character Hiccup, I felt did have a Viking feeling to him.
Oh, interesting.
In the way that he was not Viking, but he was supposed to be Viking. I felt like that worked with Hiccup.
Yeah.
But everyone else, besides Astrid, I feel like it didn't work as a Viking.
Yeah. There were older adult Vikings all seemed to fit. You know?
Yeah. They
everybody
like
they brought
in.
in.
Yeah.
But it was these kids. And like I said, I like these guys. I feel like it was like the pacing or somewhere in the transition from voice acting to actual acting, because in voice acting, you have to really sell it with your voice. And in these ones, it was like, maybe they were trying to sell it with their actions more than their voice. I don't know.
I just feel like they didn't, the world that those kids are in an animation feels like it works, because the dragons and everything kind of
everything's goofy.
They match the personalities of the kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how like you get these weird looking dragons and these weird kids, is that they like find their dragon that emulates like who they are.
Yeah.
And in the animated side of it, it just makes sense. But when it comes to live action, it just did not translate the way that I feel like it should have.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there was a way to do it. And maybe they were just so scared of deviating too much from the animated side of it, where they're going to be like, oh, people are going to be pissed off that like
this character's changed or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it might be. But everything else felt like there was more stakes to them. Like you said, it was scarier. Like the Vikings were more real. The fighting between the dragons felt really intense.
Yeah.
But then you have the dichotomy of this intenseness and this realness to this really fakeness. And that was hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. Like I said, I just had a hard time with their dialogue. Although it did feel like they they showed you how much they hated Hiccup a lot more in this one than in the animated one. I didn't really get that as much in the animated.
They definitely made fun of him, and weren't his friends.
Yeah. It just felt more like what kids would do versus this one where they're like, "You're such a screw up. I hate you. I never want to see you here again." You know, like I don't know. I guess that's just it. All felt more ramped up.
Yeah. But with that being said, like as far as a live action remake, I think this is one of them that is up there for me. I think Aladdin is definitely better than this one, though. I'm not gonna throw out How to Train Your Dragon as like the best live action that's ever been made.
Yeah.
I think Aladdin. When I watched Aladdin live action, I was like, this is just as good to me as like the animated version, where I could watch either or and be happy.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's that it was so different from what I was expecting. I didn't know how to feel about it originally, and it came around on me, you know, but that's why it's hard with this one, is because it's almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you've replaced actors essentially,
which is good and bad. You know, like I feel like with these live actions, it's really hard to win.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to win.
Well, I don't know. These studios must be winning because they keep on making them.
They feel like they are supposed to work, you know, but at the same time, why not let something live
by itself?
Animated.
Yeah. And make something new.
Yeah. Just make something new. And now we have to potentially go through the idea of How to Train Your Dragon 2 and How to Train and like,
oh, sure. They'll remake all of them.
The next ones. And I don't know if I'm excited for that. Like, I think this is enough.
Sure.
You know,
I'll agree. I don't think you have to make, I don't know that you really had to make this one, but I will say it was a fun ride. You know, like I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
There were these things that I, you know, felt like misfires or whatever, but it seemed like I mean, I had fun watching it, I guess. So I wouldn't say as much fun as the animated, just because there was a little bit of a disconnect for me, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I feel like I couldn't pinpoint it until we kind of started talking about it, that I do feel like it was just the dragons for me, you know, that really made it harder for me to actually feel like I'm in a world.
Yeah.
You know, that is working.
That's real. that you can suspend your disbelief
but
enough.
Then maybe if they would have made these dragons completely different and like angry and, you know, hard looking and like, you know, Lord of the Rings ish, then we would have been like, oh, like they changed up the whole story.
Well, and it wouldn't have been a kid's movie, you know, like we are kind of the target audience for this movie, but we're not really, you know, it's for kids. So
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Well, should we give this thing a rating?
Let's do it.
All right, you can go first.
I'm going to give it a 3.5. How to Train Your Dragon is a fun story. The original one, I really like the actor who did Hiccup's voice. Everyone, it just seemed to all works well together, you know? And then this one, there's a little bit disjointed. So I can't give it quite as good of a score as I would have given the animated. But yeah, it was a fun watch.
Yeah. I am going to agree. I'm going to say for me, this is, probably like a 3.8, around there. It's good. I think that it would be hard to be more than a 3.8, you know, with this film. I think that there's something about the voice actors adding a funness and a youthfulness, like even if they're older people doing the voices, adding a quirkiness to the character that you can't really get in live action.
Yeah.
And I was missing that. I was missing the quirkiness to Hiccup, that you totally get inside of the animated version of it.
Yeah.
But all in all, good. I think that if you want to watch it, you definitely should. And tell us what you think.
And you might notice that we're wearing the exact same clothes as the last episode, which was our most contentious episode. And this has been our most probably agreeable episode, I think. Probably because Stetson took me out back. Gave me a few lashes.
Took him to his steakhouse.
Please be nicer to me on the podcast.
Dude, I was the one being mean.
No, that was me doing you. Oh. You take me to steakhouse, you're like, please be nicer to me on the podcast.
Don't disagree with me so much.
But let us know. Do you like us agreeing or do you like us debating more? Let us know in the comments.
Will your comments matter? We like to think so.
I mean, we'll read them all and they might hurt our feelings.
We'll probably heart them.
Yeah.
And we will respond to them. We'll say something to them. So definitely say something. Tag a friend.
You see something? Say something.
See something, say something, tag a friend. Share this with somebody. If you like our reviews, they're a lot different than, most movie reviews that you might see on YouTube or, in a podcast, just because we give all the spoilers away. We're
not holding anything back.
Nope. If you want spoilers, this is the podcast for you.
And we kind of want this to be a discussion, like we're interested in your opinions on movies and what you liked, what you didn't like. So yeah, let us know.
Yeah. Because, we like to think that we're right, but most likely we're probably not right all the time.
And some comments have really led us into changing the way that we speak on the podcast, and being more mindful of the things that we say. So yeah. We do read them. And
some comments really let me see into the light of what the other person was feeling, which helps me really understand how they could see that perspective.
Yeah.
I think Better Man was a great one for that.
Definitely,
where people had just intense feelings about it one way or the other. And those feelings were attached to experiences in their life that totally are understandable why you would feel that way.
Yeah. And experiences that maybe I haven't had, exposure to. So it was really interesting and really cool to see.
Like Sinners. Toast hasn't been around a lot of black people.
I made a few comments that came off wrong, and I'm sorry about it. And we're doing better.
They weren't that bad of comments, but they were viewed in the light that they weren't meant to be viewed in. But that's totally people's how.
And looking back on it, the way that I phrased it was not great.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah, we learn, we change, we grow.
Exactly. All right. Well, we'll see you in the next one.